Part one of today's Local 6 Legal Line features Joe Roark of the Bryant Law Center in Paducah and Louisville, entertaining your questions regarding divorce at 1-888-208-6946. Give us a call. Got a question? We'll get an answer for you. Got a question from Macy, who says, how much notice do I need to give my children's father before I take them on vacation?
Well, typically your time-sharing schedule is going to be governed already by an order, so as long as the trip you're taking is within your pre-designated time schedule, you don't necessarily have to provide any special notice. There's no requirement to say, 14 days early unless your order specifies otherwise. But as with most relationships, especially one where there's a divorce or a breakup of some kind, it's a good idea to provide as much information as you can to avoid any questions, confusion, or any mix-up. So you probably don't have to provide any special notice unless your order says so, but you do have to travel on your time. But it's always a good idea to let the parents of a child know where they're going to be, especially if you're going somewhere unusual or out of town.
Jason has a question regarding his wife has moved to another state and filed for divorce there, and I'm assuming there was some separation there. He wants to know, is that legal since we spent all of our time as a married couple in Kentucky? What do I have to do to get the case moved here?
Okay, well, each state is going to have their own residency requirements that you have to meet before you can file there. So most states, like Kentucky, say for example, you have to live here for 180 days prior to the filing of a divorce petition, or you couldn't do it here. And so if the state that she moved to has residency requirements and those residency requirements have been satisfied, there's nothing that stops her from filing there. Now you can file a motion in that case in the state you don't live in to ask to transfer it back to Kentucky under the theory that all the evidence is here, all the witnesses are here, all the people are here. It'd be much easier to do it here than it would to do it in a far distant state that has no particular connection to the parties. But if she's met those residency requirements, she can file there, and it's up to you to ask to bring it back, but you have to do it in the state court where she filed the case originally.
I have a question from a gentleman who says, I have been offered standard visitation by my ex, but I'm not sure what that means. Can you explain?
Sure. Each judicial district, easy for me to say, in Kentucky has its own standard schedule. That standard schedule used to look a lot like, every other weekend and one night and off week for the non-residential parent. There have been some changes in the law that indicate that, joint custody with an equal timeshare arrangement is the baseline position that courts are supposed to consider when determining timesharing arrangements now. So if what she means is standard, you get every other weekend and one night in the off week and then some period in the summer, it's likely that that is not the beginning position that a court would start with, but each case is individual in its own right, and so the facts and circumstances of your case, such as your work schedule, distance from the kids, ability to get them to and from school, things like that are all going to govern it. But standard schedule used to mean every other weekend and one night during the off week and split holidays. That's not employed all that much anymore, at least on new cases. So look it over, talk it over, and as always is the case when you have a legal matter, you should talk to an attorney about it to get the best advice for your particular situation.
And speaking of talking to an attorney, I'm going to have to refer that to a couple of the questions that we have remaining. Don't have time to get to those in segment one, so we have to wrap it. And thanks to give our thanks to Joe Roark, one of the attorneys with the Bryant Law Center in Paducah and Louisville. And we will be back with part two of Legal Line here in just a couple of minutes. We'll be visiting with Tara Swanson, and the topic will be criminal defense. If you have questions regarding criminal defense, give us a call at that number right down here, 1-888-208-6946. So that's straight ahead on Local 6 Midday.